Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City, where we want to help you build a Lego city regardless of the space you have. What you see in front of you is my two-story modular medical center. If you'd like to see a review of this particular MOC, do check out the link in the card above or the description below. In the next series of videos, I'm going to do a renovation of this particular MOC, where I'm going to exchange the stairs on the inside for an elevator. In my first evolution of this MOC, because it started as a one-story building, I added in a second floor and added in a set of steps. Now the stairs was added in because I wanted to do an educational video to show people how you can install a set of stairs into a MOC and how to figure out the position as well as the position and size of the stairwell. So it's really done for educational purposes, and my intention was always to put in an elevator. But when I first put in the stairs, a lot of subscribers and viewers did mention that they wanted an elevator in the medical center or this mini hospital due to practical reasons. And I completely hear you, and that's why I'm doing this series of videos where I'm going to do the renovation. While the exterior design of the entire building will remain the same, there will be a lot of work that is needed for the interior. For one thing, because I have to replace the stairs and get rid of the stairwell and put in the elevator, the interior of this build will change significantly. And that is mainly with the layout and the usage of the rooms. I'm actually going to change the sizes of the rooms and I'm going to switch things around. For example, for the first floor, there's currently 3 main rooms. There's the reception area over here, doctor's consultation room, and over here we have the operating theater. And on the second floor currently we have a toilet with this kind of a waiting area. We've got a medical lab, an x-ray room, and over here we have the patient recovery room. Now it does make sense with these different rooms for the operating theater and the recovery room to be on the same floor, and likely the toilet as well. Which means that I have to bring the operating theater up to the second floor and I will have to move these 2 smaller rooms downstairs. At the same time, I'll have to take out the stairs and put in the elevator. So there's quite a lot of redesigning needed, and that's what I'm going to do in this series of videos. So the first thing I'd like to share is my design for the elevator. In a previous midstream live stream, the brick design breakdown, I shared my original design, or at least the initial idea of my elevator. And the elevator was designed to take at least a wheelchair. Now, this is built on a 16 by 32 stud base plate, so it is really narrow. So I can't really have such a huge elevator, but at least it needs to take 1 wheelchair. And I figure there's not even enough space to put an orderly inside with the wheelchair. So in terms of the logistics of how this medical center works, because after all it is very small, it is a private medical center, not a full service hospital. Basically, an orderly on the ground floor can push the wheelchair into the elevator with a patient. The elevator gets closed, this goes up or goes down, and then another orderly on the other floor would receive the wheelchair. So that's how I see the logistics working out. So that's a wheelchair, and you can find this in various sets, I believe, like the hospital set and the People Fun Pack Fun in the Park set. So currently this is my design. It is different from what I originally came up with in the brick design breakdown, although the concept of this ramp remains the same. And you can see it snugly fits the wheelchair just like that. Now in my original design, I had placed this Technic brick and the connectors below, but this caused the platform to be very thick. So I went back to my old design because I've designed elevators in the past, and I went with this design over here where I've placed the brick on top so that the platform or the base over here is just thick enough. It doesn't have to be too thick. It's currently 2 plates thick, but I think it's still believable for a wheelchair to be pushed up just like that. And this will be tiled later on, and the idea is for this connector crosspin to stick out from behind just like that. And the reason why I've got 2 of these, I guess these ball holders or spaces, is so that I can place it something like that so it doesn't shift around too much. That will wedge into the wall, because there will be a slot over here in the back, so I will have to redesign this, take out the windows here, create a vertical slot so that this entire elevator can go down. And of course this must then match up with the second floor, which means that there needs to be a complete rework over here as well on the underside to have a slot so that the elevator can go all the way up and down. So as you can see, it is pretty much quite a big job, not just simply taking out the stairs and putting in an elevator. So what I'm going to do now is to take out the different small builds from all the different rooms, take out the staircase, and then start building this back wall. So I have to figure out the exact position of the elevator, move walls if I need, and create a slot that runs vertically from the bottom all the way to the top of this ground floor. And we'll see what happens from there. So this is what I've got so far. Seems a bit drastic in terms of what I'm taking out. But remember, I said I'm shifting the operating theatre up, and the other two rooms are actually smaller. And I'm thinking of following more or less the scale, but maybe slightly bigger. So currently this is about, let's just give it a quick measure. So this is 6, so this is 7 studs wide. I think we need to do 8 studs just to make it even, which means that this wall will be here, and if I have to line it up, it will be really here. Okay, let's bring this into view so that we can have a look. So taking this gray masonry brick as the line, currently I need to move it back 2 studs. See that black line over here? This is where my wall was. I have to move it back by 2 studs over here, just like that. And that will mean my elevator will be somewhere here. So let's do that first. So this is basically the position of the new retaining wall. So my elevator will start here. Now you can kind of imagine it, it looks like that. As you can see, the elevator does take quite a lot of space, almost to the point of being a bit too close for comfort. But at least when this ramp is up, because the elevator is not being used all the time, there's ample space for minifigs to get through, or even a wheelchair to be pushed through. But when needed, of course, this will have to be brought down, and we have to maneuver the wheelchair up. Again, we are working with a constrained space, but I think this is still acceptable. So that's the position of my elevator. I do need to modify this back first. To create that slot and make sure it's structurally sound, because right now I'm actually having to build a slot all the way to the top, so it's a gap, so there's no structural support at any point. All the support is taken just from the side walls. So once I do that, I'll also work on the retaining wall, or at least I have to figure out, so this can't be right. In fact, I should move this like that. So it would be something like this, because I am going to have a wall here, but remember these are going to be rooms and such, and I need to have a minifig get through like that, so there must be a passageway, so there can't be a wall here. There may not be a door, because what I'm thinking in terms of the space usage now, I'll probably have one door here like that, maybe I have one door like that. That's pretty tight, but if I have to switch this around, for example, if you were to do this, move this here, change the door handle, and that comes here, this can still open up. Maybe we'll open it up the other way as well, so this will come here. And again, I may not be using this color, this is just as a guide. So technically doors still can open. I'll figure that out later if I feel there's a need to. But the idea is, now that's going to be quite tight. But to me, this is going to be one room and there's not much room for this. This is probably going to be the toilet, which means I'm not going to use a door like that. So let's switch this over here. The door I'll be using will be how I've constructed this toilet over here with this type of door. So it's not a full door, it's almost like a car door. But the thing is, look, I've got pretty much about 6 studs of space, or at least 5 studs of space over here. I've got only 4 or 3 studs, which means I can put the toilet in, but not a sink. So maybe the sink has to go somewhere else. Maybe it's on the wall over here. Unless I put the toilet this side and I have a room like that. That would make sense as well. So my toilet could be here. And yeah, that will make sense. So what I could do is, if I were to put this plate here, I'll give 3 studs wide for the toilet, and referring back to my old one, yeah, so that's 3 studs wide, which is big enough for the person on the toilet bowl, and there's a sink and stuff, so that's pretty much okay. So if I have 3 studs here, in fact I could probably give 4 studs, maybe. And this room would be here. Now, what's this room going to be? Remember, for the second floor, I had both the lab and the X-ray room. I think there's space for the X-ray room here, but my X-ray room here now is 5 studs, and that's just nice. So I would have to move this here and move my toilet back to being 3 studs as before, just like that. So I'm going back to the same proportions. Well, not really, because what am I saying? That's now 2. So if I do this, that's 3 studs, but that may not be enough space for my X-ray room. So my room for the X-rays is longer now, but it's not as wide. But maybe it's possible because it's longer. So that's the X-ray table. Let's see if I can pop it off. So let's take this X-ray table with the patient. Try to get him out, and let's say we put him somewhere here against the wall here, this way. So once again, this is where the wall is. We could build a panel there, but maybe we'll build a panel here, which means that I can't have a blue trans blue window here because I need to build the X-ray device in, but I'll see how that goes. And then I could take the X-ray computer, or the reader, which is built on a separate stand like that, and maybe that could go in the corner here. So that would work. Yeah, that would actually work. So that space would be fine. So I would take this out to create 3 studs for my toilet. The door will be here. Tight squeeze, but at least it still works. So our space for the toilet. Inside here, I've got 4 studs, which is tight, but there's enough room for the minifig. And I just have to figure out whether I'm going to build it on this side. Maybe I could build it just on this side here. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So I'll build this here. There'll be a panel on this side, so there's room for this minifig's arm. And I'll build, yeah, the X-ray device here. I'll figure this out, I think. Let's not bore you with my thinking process here, but basically you can see my approach to working out the space. I do need to work out the functional space and kind of lay it out first, and then I'm using these plates, as you can see. So this is my toilet that would come up all the way here. I will need to take a 1x6 plate, which I have. Well, I'll find a 1x6 black plate, and I just have to plate it over here, and that will define at least the X-ray room, the toilet, and then of course I have to figure out the exact position for the elevator. So let's do that right now. So I've come to realize a problem now, just due to Lego math, and due to this Technic brick having the hole in the center, this actually offsets it by half a stud, which means that I can't just have a 1 brick gap here. I'll need either a 2 brick gap, or I have to do some kind of offset, which does complicate things. So I have got 2 choices, or 3 choices I think. 1, create a 2 stud gap like that, and that allows this to almost easily have lots of space. But then I have a 2 stud gap, which I don't particularly like. The next thing I could do is to figure out some offsets using jumper plates, which can get really complicated, or I can redesign this lift such that I will use a different technique brick, maybe a single brick with a cross pin. That might work. And then, but this pin won't be centered, so the lift won't be perfectly balanced. So I am going to think about it. So 4 minutes has passed and I've thought about it, and I'm going to try something. First, a shout out to Captain Duckman. He actually sent me an email after the previous live stream where I showed my initial design for the elevator, and I actually highlighted the problem of the pin. At that time, it was really about it being too thick. And he sent me a design suggesting to use a similar arrangement of basically a peg and a clip. Now, I did think about it at that time. The only issue I had was that it would turn quite a bit and might create problems. So I went back to the connector pin simply because this doesn't move. It's very solid, but as you can see, it has this other problem in terms of the spacing. So maybe I might try this, and hopefully that the bricks on either side will keep this from moving just too much. So this might be a solution, but just wanted to give a shout out to Captain Duckman. Even if this doesn't work out, I appreciate you sending it over. So this would be offset a bit to one side. I don't think it's a big issue. So for now, let's just assume that we will be working with this. Okay, and let's see if I've got the bricks. So this would look something like that. I could also put it actually at the corner, but this might work better. So if I do this, you can see now that it lines up with a slot. So if I were to take another brick, so let me get another brick. So the idea is this little holder extends out from just one brick like that, so everything is back in line. The Lego math just does work out, and the lift goes up here. So the question is, after I do that, will this be stable enough to lift up, bring up the lift like that? The other option is to build a bigger back for the lift. In fact, maybe I'll do that, and instead of just having one of these, I'll have two of these. So just imagine there's a column of a modified brick which is about 3 studs high, and there are clips, and I can actually have two of these clips then, and maybe build some kind of a handle so it's really big. The only problem with that, in my opinion, it looks really big and clunky. You get this whole thing sticking out the back. Aesthetically, it doesn't look really good. So let's just go with this first. We will have to build a bigger holder or something that's more ergonomic, but I think we can do that later. So let me just build this up and see if this actually works, at least from a concept point of view. So here's the issue. If the elevator is here, it's really hard to push the wheelchair reasonably, into the elevator just to the slight bend over here. And actually, if you think about it, this door or door frame is really not designed for the wheelchair, because the wheelchair can't fit in. The wheelchair is 4 studs wide, but it can't fit into the frame due to the thickness of the frame. So that's not good as well. So I have several options again. As always, back to the options. I could technically, let's say, move the elevator here, and we can just use our imagination and assume the wheelchair can just squeeze through. So if we ignore that fact, then you can roll the wheelchair directly in the elevator if needed to go up to the 2nd floor. This then changes all the space usage over here. And if you notice, look, my counter for the reception is here. There's no space for any minifig to pass by. If I had it in the original position, there's still space to pass by, which makes sense. Now, some people might be thinking, why don't we turn the elevator this way? It's possible from a design layout, but again, if this wheelchair is supposed to come here, look, it can't make its way past this corner, and then you would have to come here, make a U-turn to come back out. It just seems cumbersome, it just doesn't work. I think there are two possibilities, but that may involve me changing the design of the front here. So there are implications because I do have this masonry brick which is part of my design. So this originally looks something like this, with 4 bricks in between, like that. So if I were to make any changes, it's going to affect this particular column over here, which means that when I have the second floor, it's not going to match up, and it is supposed to match up unless I change this around as well, and then that just makes it a complete redesign, which is not what I'm looking for. If I need another 4 studs or 6 studs and I get rid of this, that would change. But let's see what happens. I'm inclined to go with this route. So I have an idea. Let me execute this idea and let's see if it works. So this is my basic idea, and I think it might actually work. What I've done is I've expanded the doors. I've put in these modified rail plates to create a sliding door. All right, now things aren't pressed down, so this isn't well balanced, but that's the idea. See, I've created a sliding door, but there's still individual doors, so even if the door is closed, a person could actually open it like that. But it can also slide if necessary, so that a wheelchair can go through. And at the same time, it's lined up perfectly with the elevator, so if needed, the wheelchair just goes up like that. I think that is a very elegant solution. Now, the only thing is it does change the facade a bit, because now there's an asymmetrical look for these gray columns, but I actually think it works. And even if I retain the look of the second floor over here, that's not a deal breaker. Everything still flows together pretty well, and I do have a very grand entrance. I think the entrance is slightly offset, but I don't think it's such a big deal, especially for the functional purpose. Now the exact center of this door is not offset by 2, but again, I think it's perfectly fine, and I think this is an elegant solution, and actually feels more like a medical center or even a small hospital now with these sliding doors. What this does, of course, is because of the rail plates, everything has been now lifted by 2 plates. So if you notice, I've got a layer of brick over here, so this raises it up. I do not want to raise everything up. That's going to take up too much plates. So what I have here are modified bricks. Okay, let's just show you what I have. So see, this is a layer of brick. That's modified bricks to put these tiles and this decorated tile here. So I'm going to change these to brackets, so it just takes 1 plate and it still creates the front brackets to put all these elements, and everything will be back to being level. So let's work on that, and once we determine that works, I can then build up the rest of the retaining walls and the elevator shaft. This is where we're at right now. So I have built up the entire elevator shaft, and you can see that's the column which is open, and here we have the little handle for the elevator. This might actually work. I will have to add something to the exposed studs here so that it doesn't really fall forward like that, so it keeps it in place. But you can see how this allows me to bring the elevator up and down. I do not feel I need a door for the elevator, simply because this hinging ramp is the door, so to speak. So that's the safety feature, and that's why I had it yellow and black, almost like a warning sign. So this might be possible, at least for now, unless I figure out another way to create a connector here. But I'm pretty happy with that. In terms of the internal layout. I've done the layout as well. Let's look at the most important part, what I think is the main door. I'm pretty happy with this. So I do have one door here and one door that can open up this way like that. But yes, notice this. If I want to, I can now slide the door here, and that's so that the wheelchair can go in and out and go immediately into the lift. So definitely I have to do something there to hold this down, but you can see how this works. I might have to tile this up a bit, or do maybe a ramp going down, or at least some kind of a bridging tile here. Even for the front here, I might have to raise this a bit or put in a curved tile piece so that it kind of slopes up like that. I think that should be easy enough. I will have to peel this back and replace the plate, the towel underneath there though. So I will do that. But I think that's pretty good. So here we have the toilet. That's the toilet sign. No toilet yet, of course, but there's the door that opens up for minifigs to go in. There's a ventilator for the back of the toilet. This is the x-ray room. That's the x-ray camera itself. So the bed will go on this side over here, and I will have the where's that x-ray machine somewhere here. At least that's what I think for now. I think that will work. And for this side, again, you just have to imagine there can be blinds or curtains if needed, and I just do this so that as a viewer, for a human, we can look inside just to make it more interesting so that you can see inside and see details. But obviously, if you think in terms of privacy, just assume that there are blinds and you can close them. I'm pretty happy with this. This has not changed. This area will not change much as well. I'm going to put a waiting area here. I can put benches, I can put a water cooler. I'll figure that out in time to come. I'm going to stop this part of the video here. In the next video, I'm going to modify the second floor over here, and I will have to modify it such that the elevator can come up to the second floor, and I have to craft out enough space for the operating theater as well as the patient's room. And more likely than not, the patient's room will be switched over this side and the operating theater will be over here. So there's still lots to do. So stay tuned for part 2 as I continue this journey of the renovation of this medical center to install a lift and to change all the interior layout of the medical center. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to follow the series and not miss out on any of the videos, please hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Check out these 2 videos before you go.